To all those joining us via radio, at home, at work, or in their cars. To all those hooked up to us via social media on Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3, our official page. To all those who are also seeing this broadcast courtesy of YouTube, Nigeria Info, our YouTube channel. And those who are following through on Twitter, the YouTube channel embedded right there. We say welcome to the battle proper tonight. Before the break, I had introduced the contestants to you. Tochukwu versus Temidayo. Tonight, one of these two individuals will be a flight risk on their way to ₦1 million. Will it be Tochukwu? Will it be Temidayo? Or will that person come from battle 2? We'll find out soon enough. Let us go into the issue at hand. Topic for these two guys to battle over: are injuries an excuse for poor player performance? Injuries, are they an excuse for poor player performance? We put this into the raffle dip kind of thing. And Tochukwu picked no, it is not. Temidayo picked yes, it is. Whether Tochukwu believes no in real life or Temidayo believes yes in real life does not matter much. What matters is that is the position these guys picked blindly. It is the position they are going to defend. Are injuries an excuse for poor player performance? Tochukwu says no. Temidayo says yes. We'll find out soon enough. Gentlemen, I know at this point you guys are using your devices to try and check for points that you may have put down. But if we get any interference from your phones, you're going to have to move that phone back, or I'll shut your mic off even in mid-sentence. It's not great for the ears. Do you understand that? While the panel continues to deliberate and try to decide whether to accept any form of note-keeping in the knockout stages in the round of 16. For now, you are free to do so, okay? But if you notice an interference, just move your device away from the microphone base just a little bit. Is that clear? So please, when you vote for either Tochukwu and Temidayo, remember, it is not about what you believe or whether you agree with the position they take. It is about whether you are impressed by the performance tonight. And always ask yourself, at the end of the day, who of these two guys do I want to hear again? Who do I want to progress? Whether I agree with that person's point or not. It is how impressive the delivery is, not whether you agree with the position. Don't vote based on positions. The panel already know that. They are not voting on positions. And while points are important in the conversations, making points to drive your argument home, it is not everything that counts. Delivery, poise, composure, command, all of those things come into play. Who would you listen to if you had to tune in to your radio? If your choices were Tochukwu or Temidayo, after listening to them, who would you rather hear? Bear that in mind. So we go to the battle now. Tochukwu, for the purpose of tonight's contest, you are contestant 1, meaning you go first. Your position is that injuries are no excuse for poor player performance. You have 1 minute in which time to open your argument and start convincing us. Are you ready to go, Tochukwu?
Yes.
You're ready
Yes,
to
I
go?
am, yeah.
Excellent. So for 1 minute, you can start.
All right, thank you so much, Femi. Football is a contact sport, right? And like every other contact sport, there are bound to be injuries. Every player at a certain point in their career have suffered from varying forms of injuries. And I think what distinguishes world-class players from the average ones and the mediocre ones are the ability to pick themselves back up from those injuries and hit the ground running. we cannot continue to make excuses for these players. They earn humongous amounts of money, right? And hiding under the umbrella of injuries to avoid being held accountable for their poor performances, I don't think is the way to go. The best player that has ever been in the game, the Peles, the Maradonas, the Ronaldo de Limas, the Cristiano Ronaldos, the Messis, have at one point in their career had varying forms of injuries, even at the peak of their careers. And they were able to dust it off, recover fully, and hit the ground running. And that's why they're the most notable names we can see today. I will leave it at that for now. Thank you.
I'm glad you did, because your time was up. So, opening comment from Tochukwu. Yep. Okay. Appreciated and applauded. It's now up to you, Temidayo, to open your comments. Your position is that injuries are a reasonable excuse for poor player performance. Yes, is the position you chose. I've set your timer for 1 minute, Temidayo, and it's counting now.
Good evening, Lagos. Good evening, Nigeria. So yes, I'm here to argue that injuries are very genuine reasons why players should sometimes can be allowed to have poor performances. Now, like you said in your opening speech, football is a contact game, and we all know that this is a game when 22 men are running around a round ladder. I cannot control how the other person will attack me. I cannot control how the other person will tackle me. So sometimes these injuries are not in player's position. In fact, in most cases, it is not. There's never a player that would pray to have injuries. But then it happens, and we've seen players. You mentioned Ronaldo. Ronaldo retired when he was having serious issues with injury. And we've seen great players. We've seen players, the Christiansos Macaulay, the Jack Wilshere, the Abu Dhabi, that injuries have ended their career. These players retired when they didn't feel like when it was not time for them to retire. But, they could not control because they have injuries. So injuries are genuine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's Temidayo opening his arguments and saying that injuries are a legitimate factor in assessing player performance. Now, there will be time for these two individuals to go in depth into their positions. The question, again, just in case you are just joining us, the issue at hand for this first battle of the night, if I may. Are injuries an excuse for poor player performance? Tochukwu picked no, Temidayo picked yes. Again, I must remind you, these are the positions that have been blindly picked by these individuals, not necessarily a reflection of their actual beliefs. So when you vote, don't vote based on whether you agree with the position or not. Vote based on whether you were impressed by the performance of either of these two men, Tochukwu and Temidayo. We're streaming live on Facebook, and you are going to vote on Facebook. Follow the live stream right there, Nigeria Info 99.3. And we're also streaming live on YouTube. You'll find that YouTube live stream embedded on our official Twitter handle at Nigeria Info FM. You'll also get to vote on Twitter. Look for the poll close to that embed and vote for either Tochukwu or Temidayo as we go. You can follow the broadcast via the Nigeria Info mobile app. Take us wherever you want to go and never miss a thing. Pretty certain. Now, voting will also be done via the phone lines. We will come at this stage, as it was in round one, a maximum of 7 votes. Whoever picks 4. In the knockout stages, the number will rise to 9, and it will be best of 9. Whoever picks 5. But this round ends at the end of this week. It ends at the end of this week, and round 3 commences next week. Okay? Good. Gentlemen, it's time for you to go head-to-head on this topic. Tochukwu says no. Temidayo says yes. Injuries are to be well. You guys know what you're saying, but here's an opportunity for you to drive the point home. But I guess maybe I should just hit the nail on the head for the sake of the audience. Injuries as an excuse for poor player performance. Is it an excuse? Tochukwu picked no, it's not an excuse. Temidayo picked yes, it is a legitimate excuse. So for 2 minutes, let's go head to head. The clock is ticking.
Okay, so Tochukwu, you said players earn humongous amount, and when they get injured, they should be able to pick themselves up. So if you're saying that, does that mean that because I work in a place and I get accident happens to me,
so
I should
so
get on
basically
back?
what I'm saying is, right, how would we hold these players accountable? Every player
Do you
at
hold
certain
player
points in their career
accountable
have
for
had
having injuries?
right? So it could
Do
be a
you
convenient
how do you
excuse,
hold a
right?
player accountable
Anybody
for
could
having
just
injuries?
have injuries and
Injuries
then
are
they
accidents.
just heap all the blames of their poor
Injuries are
performances
accidents.
on injuries.
You cannot
For
control
every
accidents.
player that you mentioned that
I
their
hope
career
you know.
ended via injury, I would also counter with another player that still recovered from
Yes,
career-threatening
But I
injuries
hope
and
you-
they still played.
but they will not be
Right?
back to their feet the way they were.
You made mention of Ronaldo De Lima.
Yes.
In 2002 World Cup, prior to that World Cup, De Lima barely played a football match in 2 years. And he
Do you
recovered
know
just in time.
do
and
you
he
know it
won-
was-
he
do
helped
you
the
know-
Brazilian team to
I hope
win
you know
the
that
World
it was
Cup.
injuries that
And he
ended
scored
Ronaldo's
8
career.
goals in that tournament. So what's the
You are
excuse,
mentioning
right?
8 goals. I can
What-
give you Ronaldo has scored
what's the excuse,
45
right?
goals in 47 matches
The
before.
top
He
players-
has scored 59 goals in 58 matches
should I
before.
talk about
But
Pele?
injury
the
ended
1958 World
Ronaldo's
Cup?
career. When he had two,
Should I talk
when he
about
had
Pele, the
two,
1958 World
he
Cup?
had injuries
Pele
in both his
barely
knees.
played through the qualifiers, and he was just the
My brother,
few days
there are
to the
quite
to
a lot
the
of players.
tournament.
There are quite a lot of
And he
players
won-
that
he
injuries
helped
have ended
Brazilian
their
team
career.
win
I
the
can give you
tournament
tons
and he
and
topped
tons of
the
their
goals.
list.
So
You know, we
what
have- what happened
differentiates
to
top
Jack Wilshere?
players from So what happened to Aaron Ramsey? What happened to
Okay,
Eriksen?
can you say that
what
when
happened
these
to-
guys
what
when these
happened
guys
to Eriksen,
thank
right?
you for giving
So
this thank you for this example.
we
Can you
can't-
agree that these guys went back to the past form when they before they had injury?
Manchester
No!
United is all over Eriksen now.
No!
Right?
He will
Eriksen
never-
had all the reasons in the world
Players
to
will
have
have injuries,
retired.
and I can bet
But he
with you
picked himself
some
back up,
injuries they will not
and
be
now
able
he's at
to
the
go
top
back
of
to
the
their
game, right?
previous form. It is everywhere. It is known all over the world.
I'm adding a minute to your argument.
So I'm telling you for a fact
the issue
that
is
when
that
players have
we need
injuries,
to
they
start-
can never.
we
Some
need-
injuries will never make them
we
to go
need
back
to
to their
start
correct form,
holding
and that's why
players
you
Allow
see
yourselves
coaches.
to be heard, gentlemen.
And that's why you see coaches when a player has injury, they put their hands on their head
I have
because they
given
know
you
what will happen.
instances of
Is either
players
these guys
that have
come back,
from career-ending injuries,
but they
and
never.
they still proved their mental
Yes,
in the game.
but most of the
Ronaldo
players
De Lima,
no. Injuries ended Ronaldo's career.
He had an injury-plagued
Injuries
career, right?
new-
But he still
two knee
performed.
injuries
He will
ended
recover
Ronaldo's
from
career.
his injury and he will perform.
Please give me a
Alright,
player that had
let's-
serious injury and came back and went back to the past form. It is never possible.
Maradona, that we all know, had an injury-plagued career too, right?
I'm telling you, Maradona,
yet
you
he
would have
still
seen the
performed.
maximum
He still
Maradona if
performed.
he was an injury-free player. What happened to Aguero?
Let's even go away.
Aguero went on injury, came back, he was never the same.
Aguero
What happened
was
to
old,
Abu
for
Dhabi?
goodness sake.
He
Aguero
went
was
back.
old, for
Okay,
goodness-
what about
You are-
Sturridge?
you're
Sturridge
giving-
is a very
you're
young
giving
guy.
me an isolated
Everybody in this
instance.
building is older than Sturridge.
Okay,
He ended his career injury.
Let's go.
See,
go
we
away
are
from
talking about
football, right?
injury.
Let's go.
Well, wherever Tochukwu was trying to go, you'll have 1 minute to arrive at that destination. I gave you over 3 minutes, and I think that's enough time. I'll give you 1 minute each to close your arguments. Tochukwu, you can get on your way now and land in that destination as you close out your argument. The clock is now ticking.
So injuries are now the flimsiest of footballing reasons, right? For every player that you said their career ended due to injury, I would counter with other players who that still defied all odds, and they still did well. Pele went into the World Cup in 1958. He barely played the game. He didn't even play the qualifiers, right? And he helped the Brazilian team win the World Cup, and he scored 6 goals in that tournament. Maradona, same with Maradona in 1990 World Cup, helped Argentina to the finals of the World Cup. Ronaldo De Lima, he barely played the game in 2 years, and he recovered just in time for the 2002 World Cup and got the Golden Boot and scored 8 goals. Let's even go away from football, right? Rafael Nadal, we all know how Rafael Nadal's niggling foot injury has been his nemesis all his career, but still, he still recovers and he still wins. That's the difference between a world-class player and an average player. Everybody would have injury, right? So everybody would have injuries. So basically, how you recover from that injury and prove your mettle, that is what distinguishes you as a top player and athlete. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Point made. You have landed. It's time for Temidayo to land and close out his argument. Temidayo, I'm resetting this clock for 1 minute and it starts right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Femi. So, number one, injuries are accidents, and nobody can really control accidents. You can only prevent it. And this is a game of contact. I cannot prevent how a player will tackle me. I cannot prevent how a player will attack me. So, injuries are bound to happen in football, and there's nothing anybody can do. That's why we've seen, and when players have injuries, the only hope they have is the medical team. And we've seen clubs, even some clubs will sack their medical doctors if they cannot get through why the players keep having injury in their club. And you mentioned Ronaldo Denima. You said, when I mentioned Aguero, you said Aguero was old. But I'm here to tell you that there are very young players, quite a lot of young players. Pato, Sturridge, injuries ended their career. Jack Wilshere, injuries ended their careers. Now, these guys, some of these guys are back, but they were not. Let me tell you for a fact here. No matter how wonderful a player is, as long as he keeps going on injury, he can never go back to the original default. Injuries, when players have injuries, they get treated. Some of them, they get injected, and you cannot just go back to your previous form. It's a fact. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the deed is done. These two men have argued out their points. They've gone head to head and they've closed out their arguments. It's out of their hands now and into the hands of the panel and, of course, the listening audience. It's Fan Battle Season 3. This was Battle 23 in the series. 23 of 47. This is where we hit the midway point of the battles. And there is still so much to come. The battles are on your radio every weekday until late in July. We'll go straight to the phone lines. Let's see whether we can get enough votes because we have a break coming. That's okay. We have a caller already. Hi there. Good evening
hello.
to you.
Yeah, good evening, Femi.
Yes, please. Welcome. Let's meet you. And how do you vote? Time is of the essence.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Samaga.
Okay.
Yes, I'll go with Tochukwu, even though I believe based on the argument, he got the short end of the stick, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
Looking at how he presented his facts.
Okay. Thank you very much. Tochukwu takes the first vote. Next vote. Hello, good evening. Are you there? Okay, we'll move on to another.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, how are you doing? Welcome.
I'm sorry.
Yes, please. How do you
I'll
vote?
give my vote to Tochukwu.
Tochukwu. He impressed you. Thank you very much. So 2 votes to Tochukwu, none to Dayo. Hi there, good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Let's meet you.
My name is Andrea. I'm calling from Madras.
Welcome. How do you vote?
My vote goes to Tochukwu.
Tochukwu.
I enjoyed the delivery. It was more coordinated.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate. Next voter, 3 votes to Tochukwu. Hi there, good evening. Let's meet you. How do you vote?
This is John Henry.
Okay, how do you vote?
Yeah, so I vote Tochukwu. Because of his closing argument. Yeah, I think he did a really good job with that closing argument. That's where he...
All right. All right, thank you very much. Tochukwu takes it. And all 20 points available for callers. The remaining 3 calls won't alter the outcome. He has 4 already. 20 points. There are still 80 points to fight for. 60 of those percentage points are with the panel here, made up of Sam, Alex, and David. When we come back, we'll find out. Plus, the other 20 points on social media, split 10-10 between Facebook and Twitter. This is Fan Battle 3. We'll be right back after this. Before the break, the listening audience gave 20 percentage points to Tochukwu of a possible 100 points. And he leads Dayo 20-0 at this time. There are 80 more points to fight for. 60 with the panel. 20 with Sam, 20 with David, 20 with Alex. The final 20 is split 10-10 between Facebook and Twitter. So the home votes gone. Panel, how would you vote? Sam, Alex, and David. It's up to you now. Who will go first between Tochukwu and Dayo? Who has done enough to impress you on the night?
All right, let me go first. I thought it was keenly contested between both guys, and well done to you two. But let me go over the topic again. Are injuries an excuse for poor player performance? For Tochukwu, I expected that she would tell me why or give me reasons why injuries are not, at the very least, the main reason why players perform poorly. And I thought throughout the 2-3 minutes of the argument, you didn't necessarily do that to sway me. There were examples where you gave as to why players who had suffered injuries and still come back to produce performances. I thought that was also good, but composure was good. But my centerpiece here was the fact that you didn't give me enough to suggest that I shouldn't focus on injuries alone. And that was not so convincing for me. For Temidayo, on the other hand, I thought the whole debate for you was about, and it sort of favored you. The topic sort of favored you, really, because we know injuries obviously are contact sport, and players, like you said, cannot avoid picking up injuries. I don't think there's one player in world football who's never been injured. So I thought that was a good point for you to build on. But you gave a lot of examples or examples of players who suffered injuries and they didn't come back to produce the best performances that they've had. So I thought it was keenly contested between you guys, sort of balanced for me. But if I put in other factors that are also equally important to this battle, I would say, as against what we've seen from the callers, respectfully, I also say that I would go for Temidayo on the other hand.
So Temidayo takes Sam's vote, equaling the tie at 20-20. Who goes next? Judges Alex and David?
Well, like Sam said, Femi, I think it was keenly contested. They did well. They brought points to the table. I expected more from Tochukwu because you have to tell us why a player would football is a contact sport, and Temidayo, I'll come back to what Tochukwu said, but let me talk about Temidayo first. One of the important things that you said was the fact that football is a contact sport and injuries are it's something players cannot prevent. I mean, you're playing in a football pitch with other guys. Sometimes you can be hit hard and stuff like that. And there are a lot of players that great players over the years that have been injured one way or the other, and coming back they just didn't look like the same player. But I can also give you players too that have faced life-threatening injuries and still come back and make an impact. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is one of those players, with a lot of injuries, the knee, the ankle, the calf and all that stuff. But looking at what the guys brought to the table today, I think your opening was great, Tochukwu. You did well. It was smooth. It was nice. I liked how you opened your argument. It was really nice. But like Sam said, if I have to bring other factors to the argument, when you guys had 3 minutes to go out yourselves, I think Temidayo was a bit louder. He came out, better. He was saying things that, I could hear. When it was a clash, I could hear Temidayo, and, I was trying to pick out your voice, Tochukwu, and I didn't get that. The closing argument, I think you did well. You wrapped it off really well. Like Sam said, I was waiting for you to bring more points, give me reasons. But I didn't get that from Tochukwu. So Femi, just to close it was tight. It was really tight because you did well opening. You allowed him get back when you guys had 3 minutes to go, and I think he closed the argument better than Tochukwu. So I would stick with Temidayo on this one.
So Temidayo takes Alex's vote, meaning it's Tochukwu 20, Temidayo 40. David, you listened keenly. I was watching you.
So, contrary to what everyone thinks, I do not think the standards here today have been high. You have two people who had a wealth of options when it came to points that they could make, but somehow managed to stay conservative with certain points that he kept going around. Now, Temidayo didn't start well. I'd say that it doesn't matter that you project more than the next person. He didn't start well, and I noted it that he bluffed a lot in his opening, and you can get away with that when everyone else is none the wiser. But when you have an audience and an opponent who is looking to cut you off at the knees, you don't do that. Now, if he was better prepared, of course he would have eaten him up on that front. But I thought he bluffed a lot. Both sides. Tochukwu did not have to use too many facts, because I felt for a moment that in the second round he was eating Temidayo up. But that said, the standards weren't very high, but Tochukwu managed to, I don't know, but marshal his points out well. He didn't do too much in the way of points, but what he had, he spread them out well. The problem I found with Temidayo's argument, and I noted it here, was that at one point he veered off points, and then there was also the fact that when you are talking about how many people, a player that injuries are a fact of life when you play contact sports. But what would have helped your argument more would have been numbers. That helps. He helps drive the whole thing home. So you pick a player and tell us how many goals he scored, or what his XG stats were before injury and after injury, and then you've knocked this thing out of the park. He did not manage to do that. You just kept calling players and players and players and players, and how well they did before and after the injuries without numbers is anybody's guess. It's up in the air. Anybody can say anything. Anybody can say Aguero was a flop after so many injuries. People can still argue that he was thriving. It was like injuries were part of his life. You get injured, come back, score a couple of goals, then go again. Without numbers, it didn't stick for me. So my vote goes to Tochukwu.
Tochukwu takes David's vote, tying both individuals at 40 points apiece. This battle will be decided by social media, Twitter and Facebook. And this is where it gets tense. Just in case you're just following, Tochukwu had taken all the 4 first votes via phone calls. We didn't go beyond those 4 because it was a best of 7. He already had 4. And when we came into the panel, in the studio panel, Sam went for Dayo, tying up with Tochukwu. Then Alex also went for Dayo, putting Dayo in the lead against Tochukwu. David went for Tochukwu, tying them again at 40-40. Twitter and Facebook, how do you vote? Sam?
Yeah, very well voted on Twitter. Let me start off with Twitter.
There's a minute left of voting. Twitter,
well,
but we can just as well proceed.
Yeah, we've had about 76, close to 80 votes here, and the difference is a bit large. But Tochukwu has managed to come up with 67.1% of the votes on Twitter, while Temidayo falls just short with 32.9% of the votes on Twitter. So clearly, Femi, Tochukwu takes this one on Twitter.
So Tochukwu takes Twitter.
Yeah.
Meaning it's 50 points to Tochukwu and 40 to Dayo. Usually Twitter and Facebook vote alike. But if they split today, it would be a draw, tied at 50-50. And a tiebreaker will be required. Do we need some time to refresh Facebook?
Just a bit of time.
Let's just refresh one more time and see whether our final results will pop up. It will be interesting to say. My heart is pounding for reasons I do not entirely comprehend. Do we have a decision?
Not yet. Just going to try to confirm that one from...
Okay. Do we want to click to expand?
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Results are in.
Okay.
And 55. This is a lot more close on Facebook. 55% of the vote has gone to the man who also swept the Twitter votes. That's talking about Tochukwu, while 45% of the votes has gone to Temidayo.
Interesting. So Tochukwu, you take this vote, you take this battle by 60 percentage points to Dayo's 40. Congratulations, Tochukwu. Congratulations. You worked hard, and I think you've earned it. So applause. The applause is well warranted. So congratulations. Congratulations. Social media came through, phone calls came through, and of course you were able to get 1/3 of the panel, and that was all you needed. How do you feel?
It's good to win, obviously. But more importantly, I've taken note of the lessons learned, and I would take that into recognition going forward.
Interesting. Dayo, you came up short. At the point, I thought you were going to go over the threshold. You were leading at 40-20 at the point. But there was just not enough in there for you to convince the callers via the phone, the voters via Twitter or Facebook, or Judge David. How are you feeling? Are there lessons?
Yeah, definitely there are lessons to be learned, and the fact remains that facing someone that was saved. There's this thing about it, but then there are lessons here, and I've taken notes, and hopefully, maybe I can use it some other time.
Did you also feel you had enough time, or did the fact that we had to wait for you? We lost almost the first half hour waiting for you.
Yes. I think that was
you could have been more composed.
Yeah, because I rushed in, then rushed to just.
You were driving in from a distant location?
Yes, a lot of constructions on the road, the express.
Where were you coming in from?
From Kosofe side.
Kosofe.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. The good thing is it is not over.
Yes.
It depends on what happens in the second battle. And you did give a good account of yourself, and this was really close. Now, at this point, the onus is on the second battle to match and better what you did in the first battle, so that the loser there can do enough to topple you. I think that's a high bar. I would see how Titi Lokwe and Ifeanyi will go in their battle. So you would wait. Tochukwu, at this point, you can go home and go through a party as you wait for your round of 16 opponent as you head into the knockouts. You are into the knockouts. Congratulations once again. I'll keep you here further. Wait for the decision, you Temidayo.
No problem.
All right. So ends battle 1 of 2 for the night. When we come back in just a matter of a minute and a half, it will be time for the second and final battle of the night. We'll be back.